go. Is that all the light? Hell yeah. Let's go. Let's see who's all got nothing to do today. Let's see who all files in this motherfucker. How's everybody been though? On this Friday? Is it Friday? Damn, I don't even have my watch on. It is Friday. Hey, okay. Yeah, thank God it's Friday, right? What's good with you, bro? How you doing? I'm working on something for you. Definitely working on something for you. I just got to compile it because it's got some old footage from when I first went to explain myself over Flames and the whole, because it all did come to a head at Florence, and that was probably the most significant thing for me is how that actually panned out, right? Showing up there as an affiliated gang member that's basically getting complained about by other gang members. Can you imagine that? Can you imagine that to have to approach another organization about somebody that's coming on the bus that you want to put hands on? That's what I walked into. That's what was waiting for me. Seth, my boy, what's up? What's good, bro? How you guys doing? And yeah, I was on my way out the door. I knew I was close. I didn't know the day, but I knew I was close. I knew it would be my last joint unless, you know, I got more time, more charges, or I just got smited out that motherfucker. It's just got fucking smited. Another day in paradise. I hear that. I hear that. You want to see some of the differences? So you just kind of want to get the idea of what the general mood was like there. It was pretty wide open. It was definitely they were like, you guys run yourselves, handle y'all's business. If it has to go that far, then y'all are getting locked down for a good month. Otherwise, they let that motherfucker ride however it needed to. FA, good to see you. Oh, okay, yeah, no, no, it's definitely called the big house for a reason, right? And a lot of high profile guys there. Like I remember on the last one of these last few lives, I come to find out that some of my viewers are familiar with Corny, right? The Nuestra Familia General. Yeah, I was chilling with the dude in a cell, chopping it up with him. I didn't know he was native. That was news to me. That was really cool to find that out. I was just aware of the fact that he was writing a Native American woman, and we thought it was funny that I was writing, a Latino or a Latina. So I thought he was of Spanish descent, interested in the native, and here I am a native interested in the Spanish descent. So figured it was funny. I am. I was gonna show you all something here. I was gonna show you guys something that is probably one of the first videos that I would want to do a reaction for my viewers because it's something that it kind of echoes some of the things that I have been saying for a while now. It's like the only place that I've really found somewhere that acknowledges a lot of the things that I've just mentioned here and there. Oh yeah, I definitely will. Definitely will. Oh wow. Thank God for great people out there, right? Thank God for great people. It's unfortunate, however, it's unfortunate, but I don't know. I don't even know how to word that. One of my viewers just sent me a little donation to make herself feel better. So it's like, thanks, sorry, yeah, thanks, sorry. Yeah, it's like, but then you want to be thankful for the bad day. I don't know. It's like you can't, right? You can't really do that. Well, like I was saying, right? I was going to, let's see here if I can figure out how to share my screen again. Oh yeah. Now I was looking for this dude right here. He's got a channel, 25K, 25K subscribers. Still very active, right? Still regularly uploading. And as you can see, you know, not everyone, we're all hurting, as far as views go, but you still gotta grind, right? You still gotta go. But I came across this channel just by accident one day, and he was talking about native gangs. And that's really the only channel I have watched, but I just saw something while I was looking for that right here. North and South Dakota Department of Corrections. I'm very interested in hearing what he has to say about that. Very interested. Right? Because that's about as obscure as the gangs that I'm talking about, right? The gangs that I'm talking about that I was active in my youth are they're that's where they started, and that's probably their reach isn't very far. Oh, it's you only see a black screen. Okay, yeah, we're gonna check it out. I haven't looked at this yet. It's 26 minutes. Very interested in seeing what this guy has to say about North and South Dakota prisons. Because to be honest with you, I know my own max security prison is basically a protective custody, right? That's what they've said, and I have no doubts about that because they thoroughly have their boots on the inmates' necks there, and they have that type of leverage because everybody has all types of shit that they can take from them, and they do take from them on like a daily basis, like your TV, your radio, like all these are kept track of. You got stickers that are printed off, and you have everything you buy has to be perfectly clear, see through. It's got to have your sticker tags on it. If you have somebody else's property, it's gone. It gets took from you, and the person who it originally belonged to is a Little Nova TV. What's good with you? Welcome to the live. I'm about to do a little live reaction. I want to see what this guy has to say about some really obscure prisons that normally won't be seen in the mass, you know, general mass media. I don't think that's copyright music, is it? See, right away we saw a bunch of natives.
Well, after months of discussion, the prison task force has finally made its recommendation for a new men's prison to be built in Sioux Falls. However, the South Dakota Department of Corrections wants to continue to show the public why a new prison is needed. And today, KELOLAND's Lauren Solik was one of 8 journalists allowed behind the prison walls for a tour of areas that we haven't seen in recent memory.
In February, KELOLAND News was invited on an exclusive tour of the South Dakota State Penitentiary. However, our news crew was only allowed to film in certain areas of the prison. Today, myself and 7 other journalists were given a tour that was similar to that given to the members of the Project Prison Reset Task Force.
You know, there's been a lot of discussion about what goes on inside the institution. There's been a lot of discussion. We've heard feedback from offenders saying that we don't need a new institution, or family members of offenders saying that we don't need a new institution. Yet I wanted for all of you to see, I wanted you to see what the staff have to do, what the staff have to endure, the linear design of the facility.
We weren't allowed to have cameras or recording devices.
She looks like she's about at her fucking wit's end. Right? She looked like damn. How do I like back up and fast forward a little bit? But yeah, a lot of the bros that watch my channel are from South Dakota. A lot of them are going to recognize, they're going to recognize this place.
On the tour. However, photos were taken for us as we walked through the prison. In this photo, you can see our tour lined up in a tight hallway just outside a cell block on the 5th level of East Hall.
It's all straight up. There's no elevators. It's all steps. And as I said on the tour, the trays, their meal trays, get carried up all 5 flights by our staff. The medication boxes to deliver meds cell to cell, they all get carried up those stairs.
This photo was taken looking down one side of the 5th floor, where there are 20 cells with each holding 2 inmates.
That shit looks just like, I could be looking at a North Dakota State Penitentiary right here. Like exactly where we're standing, the switches would be off to the left, or it would look like it off to the left over here, where the direction of my hand here. And it's very old. You can hear them hit these switches, and it's like, and all these doors start rolling all at once, all the way down. And then you have to step out of your cell and either open it or not open it. Fucking dumbass. You either slide it locked so that nobody can go inside of it while you're gone, because you're going to the chow hall, or you're going to the out to rec, or a call out, or whatever. Or you could just step out, and chop it up with people as they walk by, going wherever they're going, and secure yourself and stay in for the day. It's whatever you want to do, really.
Mates. We were also taken to one of the shower rooms where there might be 120 inmates at once, 60 showering and 60 waiting, but only 2 correctional officers. We were told the steam from the showers also often block the view of the security cameras.
Look at that. I gotta see that again. Look at that. Y'all just standing there completely able to just look at each other's back sides, front sides. There's absolutely no privacy there. Zero privacy. Like, there's nowhere you could look. You just got to jump in line and stand arm's length away from the next man and not try to, get whacked by something, get whacked on your leg by somebody scrubbing a little too hard to your right. Fucking hell.
From the showers also often block the view of the security cameras. We also saw the basement rec area that includes a gym and weight room. One major concern for Wasco in this area is that the windows, like the one you see here, are made of regular glass that can easily be broken by inmates. As we walked through the prison and its work areas, Wasco wanted us to keep in mind one sentiment she shared with us both before and after the tour.
The benefit was for everybody to see what we've been
What they're not saying about these old ass prisons is that lot of blind spots. If it's anything like
is for everybody to see.
If it's anything like the state prison, there's just so many little blind spots and nooks and crannies everywhere that things can happen that there's just no way for them to set cameras up for every angle.
Sentiment she shared with us both before and after the tour.
The benefit was for everybody to see what we've been talking about, to see what the legislators saw when we took them through. And as I said, you know what? It's not going to get any worse than it is. The only thing left for it to do is to fall over.
In Sioux Falls, Lauren Solik, KELOLAND News.
Following the tour, Secretary Kelly Wasco took questions from the media. Now, tomorrow night on KELOLAND News, we're going to hear from Wasco about the prison task force recommendation and what she'd like to see in a new men's prison facility.
Greetings, it's your host, Gabe Morales. I'm continuing with our coverage of Department of Corrections agencies across the United States. Today, we're going to cover both South and North Dakota VOC systems. The South Dakota Department of Corrections is the agency that operates prisons within the state and has its headquarters in Pierre. South Dakota State Penitentiary is located in northern Sioux Falls and was first constructed as a territorial prison in 1881. When South Dakota was granted statehood in 1889, it was passed over to the state. Although a large portion of the original buildings remain,
that's like 140 years old or something like that. 150 years old.
Numerous changes have occurred over the years. The main penitentiary contains 3 housing units. In October 2023, South Dakota Department of Corrections closed a real estate purchase of 2 160-acre parcels in Lincoln County, which I understand soon will replace the old penitentiary in Sioux Falls. The Mike Durfee State Prison opened under the name Springfield State Prison in 1984, with women prisoners first occupying it, with males being admitted a year later. Became an all-male facility in 1997 when women were transferred to the Harum Solom Public Safety Center in Pierre. The Mike Durfee State Prison and then renamed in 1999 for Mike Durfee, who had been with the school and was deputy director of the South Dakota Department of Corrections.
School Naps, good to see you, bro. Is it one continuous picture? I'm curious if you guys see a black screen when I'm on the actual video page and not on the stream page because somebody said it was a black screen until I started playing it. Because I was just back and forth just now. God damn it.
Corrections. The present South Dakota Women's Prison in Pierre has an inmate capacity of 452 and opened in fall of 1997. This facility hosts a mother and infant program and in the year 2018 introduced a methamphetamine addiction rehabilitation program. South Dakota executed 4 men between 1877 and admission to the Union in 1889. For that, 10 men were executed until the abolition of the state's death penalty in 1915. Each of these sentences were carried out by hanging. The only person to be given the electric chair was George Sitz, who was put to death on April 8, 1947 at the South Dakota Pen. On January 1st, 1979, then Governor Bill Janklow, who was mentioned in my Leonard Peltier video, signed the state's post-Furman death penalty statute. Since that time, all subsequent executions have been by lethal injection. First occurred in the year 2007 with the execution of inmate Elijah Page. That was the first execution carried out in South Dakota in over 60 years. As of November 2019, 5 condemned inmates, all white males, have been executed since capital punishment was reinstated. A further 2 men killed themselves while being placed on South Dakota's death row. There have been several riots or major disturbances at the South Dakota Pen over the
Being on death row is crazy. I wasn't even, obviously, obviously, I wasn't on death row, but I was housed on Terre Haute, Indiana's old death row wing. Um, and the cells are huge, fucking huge. By far the biggest cells I have ever seen. The bottom bunk is a slab of concrete about 15, 16 inches tall. And the top bunk is a shelf, just a solid concrete shelf that juts out of the wall. There's no braces or anything like that. It's just so solid that you're, if somebody could jump up and down there. It's got its own shower there in the corner, and it is nasty. It is absolutely fucking nasty. The paint is cracked. It's peeling. It's like literally furling off the walls, and there's all manner of goop and muck and spores and all types of shit that's growing behind the paint. So it doesn't even pay to like pull the paint off to try to make it like more presentable or anything, because what's underneath is just by far more disgusting. You don't want to touch the walls when you're in the shower and you got your shower shoes on. You don't want to touch the fucking walls at all. You go in there, you keep your shit together. You keep your shit together like this, and you shower like that, and you make sure shower curtain. Oh, nasty. Most of us pull the shower curtain down and completely wipe it. Like, well, we'll get disinfectant, we'll get cleaning solution from the COs. If you got some cool COs, that'll bring you a cup of it, and we'll disinfect the entire shower curtain, front, top to bottom. Because that too is used and abused by the male population when they're just, when they're putting in that work, right? They're getting freaky in the mind hemisphere. So you don't want to reuse what's been in there for who knows how long before you clean that motherfucker up yourself. But what's disgusting about those shower curtains is as soon as the shower starts running and the air pressure changes, because it's either like all hot water and the entire cell is just like a fucking mortuary. It's kept at like 63 degrees fucking Celsius or some shit. It's just fucking super cold. So when this hot water starts, it brings that shower curtain right up against you, like you're getting wrapped in something, and so it is disgusting when that thing drapes itself all against your back of your legs, and it's like all cold and slimy. It's nasty, nasty shit. Let's get this thing playing again.
Years, including events in 1922, 1936, 1954, 1980, 81, 83, and 93. And there was a recent incident that I'll discuss here shortly. On August 17th, 1922, prison inmates tried to murder Deputy Warden Arthur Muchow, stabbing him several times and attempting to cut his throat. They also
Damn.
kidnapped guard Martin Boosving and Warden George T. Jameson. Inmates took Warden Jameson hostage, threatening to kill him if they were stopped, and fled the prison in a vehicle. They obtained another car at a nearby farm and drove to a church where they were holed up for the day. They left Jameson there bound but unharmed, and he was able to free himself. The inmates were reported in numerous locations, and authorities set up an ambush on August 25th, 1922, and fired upon their car, killing Henry Coffey, a black man who was in the front passenger seat. The other three.
Damn. The only the only guy that got shot in this whole incident just happened to be the only black dude in the mix.
Men, all white prisoners, were captured and returned to prison with life sentences added to their terms.
I'm just
They were
saying.
released.
I'm just saying it doesn't look good on the surface. I suppose he had a gun too, right? He's like, oh, sprinkle a little crack next to him and shit. Crack wasn't even invented for like another another 50 years. It wasn't even invented for another 50 years, but they still had a couple pieces next to him.
In 1944, however. On March 6, 1936, Warden Eugene Riley was one of 3 people to die after a prison break ended in a chase that erupted into firefights between escapees and law enforcement. Inmate Phil Ray was killed, as was Berlin Meisel, who, along with his fiancée, Frida Rauch, was in a car that inmates attempted to hijack. Several other people were wounded in that incident. On October 11th, 1954, a riot broke out because inmates were unhappy with their treatment by the guards, as well as the food that they were served and lack of adequate toilet facilities. 4 prison guards were taken hostage by about 250 inmates. Tear gas was deployed to end the riot. November 7th, 1981, violence erupted again.
I think they just said that they didn't have adequate toilet facilities. And if that's the case, then yeah, we were about to riot because we were getting rotten milk, fucking wilted brown lettuce, rat food, rat droppings was all over the food, all over the bread. Like we were getting fed like straight garbage. And then it went from 2 hot meals in the morning meal, which technically isn't considered a hot meal. You'd get a couple bags of milk and you'd get cereal. And the worst that I ever remember being fed is at Beaumont, USP Beaumont, Texas. And you'd sit down, you'd pour the fucking, your cereal in, pop the corner off the bag milk. All they do is they have a big old wheelbarrow, right? Just this big old bin, like a laundry bin. And they pile a bunch of milk in there, milk bags, and then they piled in ice. Well, they don't really like layer it, then pile some fucking milk bags, then layer it, then pile milk bags. Everything gets dumped in, then a bunch of ice gets dumped across the top, and it just kind of trickles down. So the further down it gets, there's some bags that were never cool to begin with. And it is nothing like taking a mouthful of curdled ass milk in the morning.
In on top of the hill, as the prison is known, a handful of convicts armed with clubs, chains, and homemade knives attacked and injured 11 guards. Governor Bill Janklow responded in person and said that the unrest and violence were not related to a shortage of guards. There was another riot in May 1993 with more than 200 inmates participating and seizing control of a section of the prison and lighting fires. 2 guards were
Went
injured
hard.
when they were beaten with a softball bat during a confrontation with inmates on the recreation yard. They were then taken to a hospital and treated. An investigation found that inmates, many who had been drinking Pruno inside the prison, demanded that a staff member be fired. And I guess when they were not, they rioted. Another riot occurred on April 12, 2011, when prison guards.
School naps. This is in South Dakota. These are South Dakota prisons. He's talked about a couple now. I'm not sure. Damn.
Ronald R.J. Johnson was murdered by 2 inmates during an escape attempt. It was Johnson's 63rd birthday, and he was supposed to have the day off, but was called in to work. He was very close to retirement and was a loyal employee who came to the prison for what turned out to be.
That's crazy. You come in on a shift that wasn't even yours to begin with. And you get X the fuck out. David, what's good with you, bro? How are you doing? We're just doing a reaction. I got a content creator here that he did a video about Native American gangs, and he mentions Native Nation, which is the first gang I ever joined, and he mentions, or he goes into depth about Warrior Society. And so originally I was going to show that to my channel, to my viewers on my channel, but then I saw this while I was looking for that video, and I was a lot more curious to see what he said about North Dakota and South Dakota prisons than anything else. I already know what he says about, the other ones, but so far it's cool. It's a good video.
His final shift. I've said it before, and I'll say it again. Corrections is the toughest job I ever worked. Not everybody has what it takes to do it. There was also a very serious incident at the pen that occurred in August 2023 when inmates Lester Monroe and Kyle Jones assaulted and attempted to murder correctional officers. Monroe was sent.
Yeah. Them bros are crazy. Dude on the left is definitely in some kind of Warrior Society like set. He's a youngster. The guy on the right, definitely a youngster. Probably got sent off on a mission. They took somebody with him, or their cellies. Hell, it could be even a situation where the celly took off on the guard, and just based on native politics, you got to ride out. You got to ride out with your celly. If he starts beating up a cop and you just stand there with your thumb up your ass, you're gonna get dealt with. That's why it's not fun, man. It's not fun. Stay your ass out of prison. Let's find out how it happened.
To an additional 35 years in prison, while Jones received 50 years after they both were tried and convicted in that case. And more recently, in May of 2025, a fight broke out in the maximum security building of the pen. This
That's
violence
crazy,
came
Nate.
less than a week after a protest over prison security and treatment of inmates. A series of fights took place at the same time in multiple sections of D Block of the Jameson Annex. Reports stated that at least 10 inmates were injured as a result of the violence. 5 were stabbed.
Yeah, there was a point in time, Nate, where even in the federal system, there were rumors that people thought they call it club feds, right? They called federal system club feds because, like they were talking about like the mafia that were in Oxford back in the 1980s and shit like that. That was club fed. Those guys were having, people bring in groceries from the streets, and they had like shit in their lockers that like no one else had. I mean, they're eating lobster bisque and shrimp on the fucking shrimp scampi, and I mean, and tortellinis. I mean, they were going hard in there. They had real bikes, like real pedal bikes. They had a whole track all the way around the prison that they got to ride on that wasn't even fenced in or anything. But at some point, and I don't know if this coincides with what Nate here is talking about, but they switched to a national menu, and the national menu was some garbage. before the national menu, each prison individually got to feed you whatever the fuck they wanted to. Whatever, they spent their budget on whatever. We'd get like lamb meat, we'd get like Euro tacos or some shit like that. Some of the stuff we'd get was good. We'd get flesh kikla, we'd get like ethnic based fucking meals. It was a little better, but when they switched to the national menu, it was like that. There was like no fried foods. Like our French fries weren't fried. They were uh, they were made out of sweet potatoes, baked out of fucking sweet potatoes or some shit. I mean, some people liked them. I wasn't a big fan. Yeah, all the meat was soy. You know, the 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 the, the cakes and shit would kill you. The motherfuckers would they give you diabetes and shit. It was the only thing that they put all the sugar in. David, yeah, that's crazy, David. I'm rambling on though, so let's get back to the video.
3 of them being treated at outside hospitals. 2 others were treated in the prison infirmary. 5 others were attacked with blunt objects. 2 others were 5 were stabbed, with 3 of them being treated at outside hospitals. 2 others were treated in the prison infirmary. 5 others were attacked with blunt objects, fists, and feet. And an investigation into this incident found that gangs were heavily involved. Evidently, in this case, prisoners were angry over their computer tablets being taken away, which were used to communicate with people outside the prison. I'm not sure why they were taken away, but often it is because of misuse and is considered a privilege, not a right. Evidently, DOC staff began a thorough search of the pen looking for contraband. And of course, many times inmates believe I wasn't there, but types of searches are done as punishment, not due to safety and security. I don't know. I wasn't there, but I've seen it go both ways over my 30-plus year career. A civilian, Donna German, said that her son was seriously injured and had received 22 stab wounds. There was a lot of protests before and after, and a lot of
Fuck, man, 22 stab wounds. Yeah, that's crazy though. I had to struggle with a lot of things to heal, to be someone normal out here, function like a regular human being again. And as somewhere in there, we are affected by the people that we do things to. We we see it, we see the terror, we see the desperation, we felt it. It was at our hands. We had front row seats to something that they felt extremely fucking powerless in, and that stains you. You might feel good about the fact that you survived doing something like that, and you get all the accommodations that come from all the convicts that want to see the bloodshed, and you think that this strengthens you, right? You think that this makes you somebody. It adds to you, right? Like packing together this super hard convict foundation, when really this stuff is taking chunks out of you, like your spirit, your soul, and that's another part of you that you gotta turn your back on. You're lying to yourself that it doesn't bother you, that you didn't your life. I was on the other side as a CO for 20 Blood Spirit. PTSD is real and affects me every day. Yeah. Being witness to it, just being witness to it, the people that were right next to us in the chow hall when that popped off and they turned around, they got up and then they got away. And a lot of them, it does feel like it's whatever. It's not me. I don't care. It happens. These are all the things that we have to tell ourselves in order to, just order to deal, to cope, right? They're just all coping mechanisms. The callousness, the blaseness, it's all they're all masks, but for real, everybody has the real response, the actual response, the first time they see it. And anytime anybody has ever actually admitted to what it's like to first see somebody get got, they wanted to help. They wanted to say something. Some of them unconsciously get up and they lean forward like they're about to go do something, and somebody catches them. They say, "Hey, what's got nothing to do with you?" You know, and I mean, and then that eventually you suppress that. You suppress that. But and I've mentioned it many times that that adds up. It all tallies up. It doesn't just go nowhere into nothing. All of that, you carry all of that with you until you start to see you can't escape the way they look at you, like the look in the eyes when they realize where this is going, because it goes from fear, like the dawning, the realization, and then you see them, it turns from straight terror. Some of them, they it turns to rage, right? You could see the fucking anger, the hurt. You see it, and from that point on, this motherfucker's gonna try to kill me. The next chance he gets, he's gonna try to kill me. I could see it. I did that. I instilled that in him. I brought this man low in front of hundreds of people. Damn. Rodney King beat by cops. The riots went off. Yeah, that's crazy. But it was a bit surprising to me to get out of prison, being the hardened the hardened fucking convict who's done it all that I was, thinking that I wasn't broken, I was complete, I was strong. And then I go to talk about whatever it is that PTSD is however it is affecting me. And I come to find out that the main realization that helped me fucking start to heal was that a lot of these men didn't deserve the things that we did to them. The reasons, the manner, the the extent, the extremity, or the level of extremeness in which we carry some of that shit out. It's malicious. Malicious for no fucking reason, just because we can, just because we want to, you know, fear or fear mongering. We're trying to instill fear in everybody else in the hopes that this will discourage anything else before it happens. There is a truth to that. And sometimes it's necessary, especially when the numbers are small, and it's crazy. Prison will make you do things for reasons that made sense at the time. Once you're home and you're safe, and you're looking at your son and you're like, damn, I did somebody really dirty.
Talk about drugs and overdoses inside the prison as well. DOC officials confirmed that 2 deaths at the prison within a month, one at the Jameson facility and one at the pen, were investigated as overdoses. And at least 1 death was blamed on the synthetic cannabinoid commonly known as K2. South Dakota faces a severe drug crisis, with fentanyl leading the cause of overdose deaths on the outside, and is also a big problem inside facilities as well.
K2 is by far one of the most deadliest things I have seen enter the prison system. By far. I mean, just right out the gate, it takes one hit. One hit was probably too much, especially depending on how long you hold it in or how big of a hit you take. And it's going to hit you within seconds. It's going to hit you full fucking force before you even let your breath out. And a lot of people can't survive just that alone. And they fall. Ba-ding! Fucking head bounces off the nearest metal fucking piece of furniture and they're done. That's it. They died. Game over. Do not pass go. Do not collect $200.
Plus methamphetamine, cocaine, and alcohol-related harm being issues. North Dakota also has a significant drug problem. The state has experienced a big growth in population, largely due to the fracking industry. Workers are often single males who get paid a lot of money and often spend.
Yeah, David, that's unfortunately really true. They do get away with it. But that's the only reason why we would have ever been expected to touch a CO is if one of us gets shot. That's the whole reason why we got people in the chow hall in Atwater on a California prison yard. You know, everybody was talking about, oh, you know, you're a bitch and you do it at the chow hall and all that stuff. Like when I said, when I got there, the tower had already shot somebody. Somebody already was made an example out of by the tower, and I think they retaliated for that. And they basically said, if you shoot one of us again, it's on. It is on. So we were all advised by the majority of those who had that type of pull and that type of desire to unify a collective goal, which is just not get anybody fucking shot, but also not force anyone else to have to take or partake in doing something like that, retaliating like that, because most likely whoever participates in something like that, you're getting at least another decade, probably 2 more decades added to your sentence, if not a life sentence. You might not go home at all for fucking off in a guard. And when I got there, we had a native who was in for fucking murder, just got out of 80X. You know, he's sitting out there playing handball and stuff, and you see fucking holes all through all in his back and lower fucking areas and stuff, and in the front by his stomach. And you know this dude's battled. He's stabbed and been stabbed, and he's a murderer. And he lets you know if you put in work, catch him in the chow hall or go up into the unit. He goes, because if one of y'all gets shot out here, we gotta fuck one of them off. You know, so it was kind of like, yeah, if you absolutely have to get him on the yard and you get shot, you're forcing the rest of us to avenge you. You know, that was the only reason. So, yeah, we were getting people in the chow hall.
Methamphetamine, cocaine, and alcohol-related harm being issues. North Dakota also has a significant drug problem. The state has experienced a big growth in population, largely due to the fracking industry. Workers are often single males who get paid a lot of money and often spend it on vices during their time off. Drug dealers are happy to supply these bored men with drugs and prostitutes at high prices. Law enforcement works hard to intercept drug operations, as over 20% of North Dakota's population is known to have a substance abuse problem, ranking the state fifth nationally.
The thing of it is North Dakota was always kind of like a small towns vibe, right? Real peaceful. Leave your doors unlocked at night, all that good stuff. But then somewhere around the time right after I went to prison, they discovered a lot of oil up in the Williston area. And with all of the fracking and the oil, all the oil companies and all that stuff that came up, all those little areas became meth centrals. A lot of money, a lot of men, a lot of single men with a lot of desire to get out there and spend that money And, it was just everywhere. It was fucking everywhere. It was bad. And we like doubled and tripled our homicide rate and everything. Shit was crazy.
Dakota Department of Corrections and Rehabilitations is a very small agency that provides prison services within the state. The North Dakota State Penitentiary is located in Bismarck and houses long-term inmates, often of higher security levels, and has a total capacity of 815. James River Correctional Center is a medium security facility that has a capacity of 420. Meanwhile, the Dakota Women's Correctional Rehab Center is located in New England, being established in 2003, and has a total capacity of 126. Like I stated previously, 24 inmates at the South Dakota State Pen were involved in the May 2025 riot.
4 inmates at the South Dakota State Penitentiary facing assault and riot charges now following a May 27th fight. The Attorney General's announcement yesterday alleges that those inmates are tied to 9 different gangs.
Tonight, Beth Warden breaks down gang activity in the penitentiary and why the Attorney General believes all inmates are safer right now than they were just a few weeks ago.
In a Department of Justice report from 1985, the South Dakota Department of Corrections was among 16 states claiming no gangs were present in the prison system. Attorney General Marty Jackley makes it clear that is
a lie. That is a bold-faced, flat-out, pants-on-fire fucking lie. Unless they're just because natives don't exist. We're always the dirty little secret, right? Just don't pay attention to us. Don't acknowledge it. They'll go away.
not the case today.
The boys or the TBZs, the Red Brotherhood, which is RBH, the Gangster Disciplines, the GDs, the Bloods, the Crips, the Northside Mafia, the Warlords, the East River Skins, and the Vice Lords.
The May 27th unrest, now legally classified as a riot, appeared to be coordinated, according to investigators.
The charges include 24 inmates.
Sources working closely with the DOC tell me there are times gangs apply pressure on prison staff. Jackley.
Let's see if I recognize anybody in this. I'm almost positive I do. Like, look at this guy right here. Full-blooded member right here. I don't know what tribe, but does he got Indian feathers in? I cannot magnify. Okay. Too bad we can't see the names, huh? Damn, Chief. You look depressed. Check his paperwork. This guy right here, top right corner. Check his paperwork all day. Oh, geez, look at this guy. Looks like my boy Iron Bear. Iron Bear was a cross between the natives and the blacks. He was an interesting character. Surprisingly, I'm not recognizing anybody. I don't know why I thought I would. He's another one. Super suspect. Bottom right corner.
Makes one thing clear.
There were no correction officers involved in this charging decision.
Right. A Department of Justice report lists the top gang activities behind bars as intimidation, trafficking drugs, assault, extortion, or abusing weak inmates, and for members to protect each other. Secretary of Corrections Kelly Wasco acknowledges their presence. I asked Wasco if a new prison layout could be beneficial. She says modern prisons assist in the effective management of these groups by allowing more options for separation and supervision through physical and security technologies. Nationwide, the top responses to gang activity in prisons include bus therapy, which is relocating a leader to another facility. But studies have shown putting a gang leader in solitary confinement is not a solution, as a new leader typically emerges to fill the void. A source tells me gang recruitment at the South Dakota State Penitentiary is a real thing. Jack Lee vows to fight any related crime.
It just became safer today because we've made it clear that the Attorney General is not going to tolerate criminal activity behind the walls.
Those I spoke to today with local prison gang knowledge are thankful for the absence of white supremacist gangs in our prisons. In Sioux Falls, Beth Warden, Dakota News Now.
Unlike the Nebraska Department of Correctional Services, who apparently avoids the subject of security threat groups and lacks transparency, South Dakota Secretary of Corrections Kelly Wasco acknowledged that gangs have a presence in the system. In fact, when I joined the National Major Gang Task Force in 1994, a year after it formed, the majority of the state prison systems and major jails noted that they had security threat groups operating and trying to disrupt their systems. This was just post-1980s crack cocaine epidemic, and thousands of minor to mid-level drug dealers with gang connections had been arrested and incarcerated. So it seemed to me like it'd be pretty hard to deny this fact, but some still did. I guess they consider that if they be pretty hard dealers with gang connections had been arrested and
How we lost the drug war and how we can win it back. Look at that. All them drugs. All them drugs. And you wonder how it gets in.
incarcerated. So it seemed to me like it'd be pretty hard to deny this fact, but some still did. I guess they consider that if they admit they have a gang problem, then people might question who is in control of their facilities. Of course, staff are charged with safety and security of correctional facilities, but gangs will work very hard to try to circumvent that. I don't think there's anything wrong with admitting that fact, contrary to some people's.
Yeah, David. No, there's not. As far as Aryan Brother, Aryan Circle, ABT, shit like that. There's members. There are members individually that you'll find up there, just like there was like 1%ers, Hell Angels. Like I knew Mooney. Mooney was a 1%er, Hell's Angel. And but as far as like an actual presence of the whole affiliation as a whole, no. No. Ma Duke's reacting to a video I sent her there.
Opinion. It doesn't mean that we let them run the facilities, but they will if they're not dealt with. I've covered most of these gangs mentioned in other videos, but one thing that makes South Dakota stand out to me, as well as North Dakota, is the numbers of Native American gangs.
The FBI calls it the silent crisis in Indian country. Crime related to gangs and drugs is on the rise on Native American reservations.
Last night, KELOLAND Investigates looked into the death of a young man, and while it's not known yet if gang activity was related, his death is suspicious. Tonight, KELOLAND's Angela Kennedy picks up the investigation on the Rosebud Reservation with young people who tell the shocking truth about how gang and drug life takes over.
Youth Appreciation Day at St. Francis School is a way to let kids know they matter on the Rosebud Sioux Reservation.
Hey.
Tribal elders.
This is my reservation right here. My actual home reservation. Spring Creek is actually, they have a Spring Creek school there that's real small. It's one building. It's like an old church or something like that, actually. But St. Francis is about 20 minutes away from Spring Creek.
Is a way to let kids know they matter on the Rosebud Sioux Reservation. Tribal elders know these attendees are the most vulnerable to be preyed upon by gangs.
A lot of these younger kids are impacted by that, gang violence. They, some identify with Crips or Bloods.
The gang mentality began infiltrating Native American.
Actually, all my family were GDs in this area, this exact area that they're talking about. If you've ever seen Gangland, I've tried to find Gangland episodes. Some people have episodes, but not the one that they did about TBZ, which is The Boys. Super embarrassing. That shit was super embarrassing. It came on Spike TV while I was in my first federal prison. Yeah, right. And it's like, you got some native. They're talking about, they're like an offshoot of folks, right, of GDs, and he's all like, yeah, this is our hood and this is all ours, and they all stand there, and there's like a mangy dog that goes by. There's an abandoned car and like a fucking tree. It's like got no leaves and it's just junky as hell looking, right? And it's like crickets chirping and it just looked funny as hell. And he's like, yeah, you fuck around here, you get yourself fucking murked. And it's like murked. It's like it translates it, right? It's like murked equals murdered, body count 0. It was so fucking embarrassing, man. But and they were like, hey, White Eyes, hey, your people's on TV, bro. Check it out, your people's on TV. I was tattooing in a fucking cell, and I was like, what the fuck they talking about? My people. So I jump up and I come outside and I look and I see what it is. And I have family members that grew up around guys that were TBZ. My cousins and uncles and stuff were actual GD members. They didn't branch off into the TBZ and fight against the GDs like they did, but TBZ were crazy. They still burned the patches on them, which was forks. They'd get forks burned across their whole shoulder, their arm somewhere, and then after like the second generation, they started adding a burn line for which generation they were. Yeah. Yeah, they were all kids. I mean, the only person that died in that fucking whole gang's history is somebody who fell asleep out in a snowbank, dude.
Reservations back in the 1990s. And over the years, their presence has grown here. But now they are recruiting members who are younger and younger.
Is there a gang problem on this reservation?
I'd say yes, due to the fact that most of the family on reservations are gang associated with GDs or Bloods.
Kellerman Investigates was allowed to speak openly with teenagers on the Rosebud Reservation about what they see happen with gangs. Their answers may shock you.
Because I live on the res, it's everywhere. It's just out there. It's easy. See it every day.
There's always like at least one kid in the group that's in a gang. Maybe because we're like easy targets.
Until I was 7, I grew up in a pretty good household until my dad started drinking. My mom lost her job. And
kid looks familiar.
Broke up.
Now 17, Israel Sharpfish's life has been heavily influenced by gangs. He joined one at just 8 years old.
My dad wasn't around to be a father figure. My mom was an alcoholic at the time, and I didn't know what to do, so I just went out, used my anger, started fights, troubles, and I was getting picked on by gang members of GDs, and I just decided to become a Blood.
That led to Sharpfish trying meth at just 13.
I didn't know what the drug was. They said, just try it out. So I tried it out, took a hit, and it was meth. At first I liked it, but I slowly seen what it did to families, how it destroyed homes. There's a lot of things that turns you against your own family members. They'll even dare you to kill someone.
For 16-year-old Devin.
Meth, for me, my experience with it, I considered it modern day witchcraft. Straight up. Modern day fucking witchcraft. That shit is sent by the devil. Obviously, that I heard that it was actually the Japanese who first concocted the working formula of methamphetamine, and it was Hitler who refined the formula and implemented it among his super soldiers, right? It was supposed to be a super soldier formula that would instill loyalty, no sleep, alertness, go for days without food, um, just go on off nothing for energy, right? But the effects of it were more psychological than anything. It was actually a mind control drug. It was actually a mind control drug, mass mind control. As far as I was able to see, I actually researched the drug when I started to sell it. I wanted to know what it was. I wanted to know its history. I wanted to know what it was capable of. And when I understood that people can be extremely incentivized by this drug, I got us in trouble, because there's a lot of people out there that try many times to blow up, to make hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars to orchestrate the demand and maintain the supply, in which you're just you're just a fucking a whole you're holding a pipeline, and this stuff is just funneling out into the surrounding states. Right, I was 19 years old. I figured this out, and I did that because I got into a lot of people's minds. I made them I made them feel like they were a part of something. I made them feel like they wanted to. That's with every drug, meth, heroin. Yeah, addiction, right? Addiction in general. As long as you get them addicted. But yeah, meth was a lot more. It had a lot more, like, what I didn't realize it about it for some time. It was like some time after I went to prison and stuff that I really started to look at it. I was like, eating one of these ingredients by themselves is lethal. Any one of these ingredients in the entire formula that you can use to make on the street. Ingesting any one of these things individually will kill you. But through means of actual science, right? But I mean, that's what witchcraft was back in the day, right? Before they knew the terms for it, before they called it anything beyond alchemy and science and all that, it was witchcraft. And I still think it's still witchcraft, because the order in which all these things are combined all of a sudden turns it into this pure, white, harmless, odorless looking substance that makes you feel like the top of the fucking world, right? It literally, all it does is it takes all your feel good receptors, all the little things that activate when you're busting a nut, or you're falling in love, or you're doing something you really enjoy. It's firing all that stuff off. I mean, it's just literally flooding, right? You can literally just sit there and ride wave after wave of euphoria, like it's a waterbed, to the point where you'll literally nut on yourself. That's why that stuff was so powerful on women, because women would connect to it in a way that men weren't, and they would get out. They'd get out far on that stuff, man, and it would destroy them. It would absolutely destroy them. No one was safe, even their kids. I've had people try to leave the kids with me as collateral. It's like, what the fuck are you even bringing them in with for? Like, what are you even bringing them with for? That's crazy. But that drug, like we said, individually, any one of these ingredients would kill you on the spot. But it turns into something that's very misleading, and it has an effect on you that it absolutely should not. It should not, right? But to take it even further than that, it makes you indulge in all the sins, all the cardinal sins. And even I've argued this many times with people, because they're like, what about gluttony then? What about gluttony? You're not eating, you're not eating on it, this and that. No, but you're you're overdoing it in everything that you're doing. Whether you're over consuming pornography, you're over consuming cigarettes, you're over consuming actual sex, you're over consuming smoking it, ingesting it. You're over consuming playing Snake on the Nokia. It doesn't matter what it is. It is pushing you to sin, right? And then you start seeing dark shit coming towards you, right? The shadow people. I have my own thoughts on those things as well, because I know for a fact that people can see the same one. I don't know if that's like a shared hallucination or what, but I've done a lot of testing with that, and I've figured out that those things might be real.
Spotted Eagle. The problem started when his grandmother, who was raising him, died.
Before my grandma passed, I was in a good position to where like school was the main thing, friends, everything was stable. And when she passed, it's just like the foundation just completely.
I have not,
went under.
David.
He was 15 and homeless.
A lot of places where I'd stay at and stuff, or ask people where I wouldn't have no place to
You're
stay.
doing the
there's a lot of
Thorazine
drug
shuffle
use.
or what?
Our gang problem turned into a drug problem, a more methamphetamine problem.
Rosebud Sioux Tribal Police Captain Ivor Crow Eagle is troubled by gang influence on tribal youth.
They tend to go to the culture that they think that's the perception that it's cool to be a gangster or to be, a gang member. That perception of family, wanting someone that wants them.
Because parents around here aren't really parents, so they go looking for their own family, I guess.
I'm probably
I talk to
related to
kids
her.
as young as 3rd, 4th, 5th grade, starting there. Because unfortunately, some of these kids are coming from families where there's an addiction problem that's entrenched, that's deeply rooted within the family and has been for 2 or 3 generations.
Chris Grant is a former Rapid City police detective and leading Native American gang expert.
There's nothing within Native American culture that connects to being a gang member. Part of the reason some of these young people in Indian country move and embrace the gang.
I have to disagree with that. We had warrior societies long before we ever knew what gangs or armies were, armies and battalions and anything like that. We knew that to instill discipline in order, there had to be a fist, right? The iron fist and the silk glove. There had to be, so before we had anything that we could call a police force, there were warrior societies. And the warrior societies were the ones who established order in the best way that we could, which is you behave and you stay within the clan, you stay within the tribe, or you get ostracized, which is sure as death, right? And also deeply dishonoring for you and your name. Yeah, David, that's crazy. It's crazy when it gets to be like that.
Gang subculture is because they're disconnected from their own traditional culture.
It's not us at all. And there's been a resurgence in our efforts to go back to our traditions and some dances, some of our ceremonies. We see a lot of our children get involved with that, and you see some positive results with that.
For both Sharpfish and Spotted Warbonnet, sports have been their way out of gang activity and have helped them stay in school, a school immersed in native Lakota culture.
What my grandma always told me was finish school and make something of myself, and that's what I want to do.
Spotted Warbonnet hopes to study biomedical engineering at the South Dakota School of Mines. Sharpfish has his sights set on Duke and now sees himself as a role model for younger children.
I share their pain. I know what they went through, the trauma. There are some kids now that look up to me, and that's really opened my heart. I just really want to change their future. I really want to change the reservation.
You said there's a good native movie called what? Skins from the 90s, Graham Greene. Oh, I like Graham Greene. Graham Greene, he played what, the last Indian or some shit like that, last Mohican, the last Dogman, or I don't know, something like that, right? Based on Pine Ridge, touches on some crimes there. Good movie, highly recommend. Thank you, Euro Lamb. I appreciate the suggestion. I'm open to, do whatever on here. Been a long time since you've seen Sundance. Pine Ridge is just it's a rock's throw away from Rosebud.
And perhaps most importantly, rejecting outside gang culture.
And identifying who they are as a Native American, Lakota.
Grant emphasizes that most Native Americans living on the reservation are not taking part in gang violence. But he says just a small number of people who are can cause an inordinate amount of fear and criminal activity. With Kettleman Investigates, I'm Angela Kennecke.
As far as native prison gangs and native street gangs, you can see a video I did on them. But I'll mention some that operate in the Dakotas, which are groups like the Native Mob, which is also active in Minnesota, Wisconsin, Colorado, and I've interviewed a couple of them in Washington State. Members routinely engage in drug trafficking, assault, robbery, and murder. According to my buddy, retired Rapid City Police Department Captain Chris Grant, who I presented with in a few states on gang activity, there are several large street gangs in Rapid City, including the Boys, Gangster Disciples, and the Northside Family. Sureños are also active.
That's exactly what I just mentioned. GDs, the Boys, which are just a faction of the GDs. There's He's about to say Sureños. There was some tagging on the wall just a little bit ago here, if you guys noticed.
And perhaps most important.
See that? 1, 3. And that might even be an SUR right here as well. Yeah, it looks like a lot of shit got covered up here. Might be throwing forks down. Super disrespectful. Crazy stuff.
Importantly, rejecting not taking an
A video I did on them, but I'll mention some that operate in the Dakotas, which are groups like the Native Mob, which is also active in Minnesota, Wisconsin, Colorado, and I've interviewed a couple of them in Washington State. Members routinely engage in drug trafficking, assault, robbery, and murder. According to my buddy, retired Rapid City Police Department Captain Chris Grant, who I presented with in a few states on gang activity, there are several large street gangs in Rapid City, including the Boys, Gangster Disciples, and the Northside Family. Sureños are also active in both states. Crime statistics confirm that gangs and cartels supply drugs are present on South Dakota and North Dakota reservations. Mexican drug cartels target Indian reservations, using them as drug hubs and trafficking routes. They feel that they can hide their operations better there. Many times, these Mexican nationals that are involved in drug cartels will marry Native American women, so they feel they're protected. However, there is little evidence that cartels control Indian reservation governments or that tribal leaders help these drug traffickers. There have been some instances, however, that I can think of where prison gangs like the Mexican Mafia and the San Manuel Indian Reservation in San Bernardino County infiltrated the tribe. Also,
Yeah, a lot of these women on the reservations, Native women, are showing up with what do you call them, associates, or flat out mafia members on the reservation as boyfriends, and they are unleashing them into the reservation. Crazy stuff. Then their family gets caught up. They get fronted a bunch of dope or something like that, and it just does not pan out good at all.
outlaw motorcycle gangs active in the Dakotas. Largest presence of OMGs in South Dakota is the Bandidos, who have chapters in Rapid City and Sioux Falls, as well as their puppet club, Hermanos, that operates in the state. Sons of Silence are active in North Dakota, and El Forasteros have a presence in Sioux City, South Dakota. Of course, one of the biggest biker events in the world is Sturgis, South Dakota, and many clubs show up, including the Hells Angels, who have been known to get into it with other clubs at times, as well as relatively getting along at other times. Vago's MC website says that they are active in South Dakota and North Dakota as well. The Midwest Gang Investigators Association Dakota's chapter is having a training September 15th through 17th, 2026. If you are law enforcement, I highly encourage you to attend. So that's all I have for you on South and North Dakota. I hope you enjoyed this video and learned something new. Before I leave today, I'd like to leave you with a few wise words from Sitting Bull, who was a Hunkpapa Lakota leader, a medicine man.
Ooh, this is a bit of a treat. I didn't expect this from him. He said, "Your ex is Lakota." Okay, David. How was that for you? Does she have a big family? Threaten to beat you up all the time? Got a lot of sons in Pueblo. Big native gang over in Minnesota, which also operated in prison. I forget the name though. Probably Native Mob. I love that song, I Am Bandito, by who sang it? I don't know. You could never forget the name, or you could never remember the name. Let's see what old Sitting Bull has to say, though.
Born in the 1830s and died in 1890. The first is honor your promises. They are the bridges between people. Again, like I said a couple episodes ago, I guess loyalty means different things to different people, but to me it means keeping your promises and having somebody's back, whether it be family or friends. The second quote from Sitting Bull is, if you quarreled with your neighbor, go and make peace before sunset. I don't think Sitting Bull meant sunset of that very evening, but sunset meaning before you die. I've thought about this quite a bit lately as I'm getting up in my years, being 65 years of age. When I go out, I don't want to be angry or bitter. I want to go out with peace and love. That may make sense to some of you, and to some of you, it might sound kind of weak. I know. It's really hard sometimes. And I'm not saying let somebody take advantage of you and disrespect you over and over again. But you have to let that anger go sometime, or you'll dwell on it forever. Don't let other people hold your mind hostage. Get angry, then let it go and move on. Forgive them for their trespasses, for we have all sinned at one time or another. But being a forgiving person is how I'd like to be remembered. And with that, this is Gabe Morales signing off for Gangsters, Cops, and Politicians.
Excellent. It wasn't bad. Not bad at all. Yeah, that shit wasn't bad at all. 21 Pilots, okay. A lot of respect for Sitting Bull. Yeah, man, the dude was. Whoa. I don't know what that was. But yeah, no, the dude was he was a real deal. He was a real leader. A real leader has to know that it's not always about getting your way. And it's not always about self-preservation or even the preservation of your own dignity. Sometimes you as the leader have to take the hit to your dignity as a man, or as a warrior or a soldier. But he absolutely had the perfect message, something that I had to accept on my own at a very early point in my prison career, because I'll be straight up, man. When I went to prison, I wasn't as gracious about it as I probably as y'all probably think I was. I wasn't as magnanimous about it. I wholeheartedly believed that I went to prison because they told on me, because they were weak, because they didn't make it worth their while like I told them to. They got caught with fucking nothing, you know. And I told them this is gonna happen. So make sure you know what you're doing, you got money set aside, all that. Nobody gave a fuck. You know, nobody thought it would happen. No, everybody just assumed, I don't know, we would just what, succeed forever? No. Success in that success in that field is finite. You might have a good run in the beginning when nobody knows about you and the product is just moving. But because you do good business and it's good stuff or whatever it is, people talk. And the more that people talk about you, the more everyone's going to hear, including people you don't want to hear. You know, it was to me at 18 and 19 years old, I knew for a fact we were all going to prison. It was inevitable, and that was before I even knew about conspiracy and ghost dope and how they can come and wrap you guys up year after the fact. So I took it very bad. I took it very hard, going to prison, getting hemmed up, um, looking at 20 years when I was 20 years old. I had a lot of hate in my heart, a lot of hate in my heart, and it was the reason that I put an anarchy sign on my face. Fuck the government, y'all fucked me over. I was doing my own thing. I proposed to a girl, like, you know, I left the game and y'all tracked me down, drug me back in, tried to turn her against me, turned all my friends against me, you know. So I was blaming everybody but myself. And I sat there and I thought for a long time, how could I have done this different? How could I have prevented anything? And ultimately, the answer was I couldn't. There was no way. There was no way unless you were a one man fucking army and you used a fucking anonymous mask at every fucking deal and you never like handed anything to anybody and never fucking personally grabbed anything, like all drop offs and all pickups. Like, it's a lot of work, you know. And it's definitely, it's just there's no getting away with it. If you do that job, there's only one outcome. Only one outcome. But yeah, you know, I got vengeful and I got betrayed. I had gotten, this was a representation, fuck. That was a representation of what I felt towards the people that had did me wrong, right? Let's see here if I can do this. The was a clown with a fedora on. And this was supposed to be somebody seeing their own death coming for them. So do you get the idea, right? You get the idea of seeing their own death coming for them. Got the lips showed shut. You know, you got the clown with the butterfly knife, which was my MO. You got a Joker cross between the old Batman and the Heath Ledger comic Joker and the Heath Ledger Joker. It was a cross. I mean, I had a lot of hate in my heart for these for just the whole situation. And I had to sit there and think of ways that I would carry out retribution because I wanted to get away with it, right? And there was a few ways that I know that I had thought very deeply about, very deeply, to the point where that shit would look accidental. And one of them was just so it was so surefire way that even if it was discovered, there's not a damn thing they could do about it until the flames went out. And by then, they wouldn't know what was in there. So yeah, but then if you're really realistic with yourself and you're like, okay, all my informants were out years after all this happened. Literally within like 3 years, 3.5 years, all of them were out. All of them. Not one of them was sentenced to more than like 4.5 years. I know that because my ex, who was I proposed to, my fiance, she had kept track and told me every one of them got less than 5 years. I was the only one who got sentenced beyond a decade or was looking at anything like 2 decades. And they tried to turn me too, right? They tried to get me to tell on people that they hadn't got and still don't have to this day. But that shit sucked. That shit definitely sucked. Then I forgot where the fuck I was even going with that. Lost it. Oh, okay. Yeah. So then I thought of ways. Okay, yeah. So I was like, okay, everybody got out real early, right? Way earlier than me. And they're fine for however long I am in prison. And then all of a sudden I get out of prison. And within the next year or two, suddenly these guys start falling off, like weird, weird ways. I was like, come on. They're going to know. They're going to know. They're going to know it's me. I'm the only person that would have that level of a motive, right? Motive and everything. And it would be it would be pretty unconvincing. And especially in this day and age with cameras everywhere and everything, it's not possible. So I'm sitting there grinding this fucking axe on a daily basis, just that shit got heavy. It got super fucking heavy, man. And I had to be realistic with myself. I was like, I'd already been in prison for so long. I was like, you know what? I'm done. If I ever get out of this place, I'm not coming back. Fuck these dudes. They're not worth it. I was like, I'm not even the same dude anymore. Like I remember being mad about it, but now I'm like, it was wrong of me to expect them to be anything like me to begin with. That's the truth. That is the truth. Because now I understand that I'm just not your average dude. Maybe I could say that I'm going to deal till the fucking wheels fall off and take that fucking bid like a champ and then do just that. But not everybody is willing to do that. Not everybody can. Not everyone's cut from the same cloth. We can't all be just outstanding fucking people for, characteristics. Everyone knew her, had a smile on their face when they spoke of her. I thought, how could she be such a delightful person knowing that? Only prison ink I got was State of Nevada and a GNR. My stomach was a GNR, Guns N' Roses. Yeah, tater tot. To help your own community. Getting old now. Yeah, I Journey. You're funny. Are we ever the same person? I think it makes us wise. No. Yeah, you're right. Time did that, right? Just enough time had passed where I was like, you know what? I was like, these guys, I knew, like, you get to look at people now, who's down, right? You know who's down, who means what they say when they say that they're going to do or say something, right? You know what that looks like. And those people are rare. Those people are rare. And you can have a handful of guys that are all like that, but more than likely it's going to be in prison that you have a whole team of people who are just all fucking hitters, right? But the people you grew up around and you went to school with and you partied with a couple of times, and then you guys just kind of happened to fall into this dealing gig, they were wrong from the beginning. You know, they had no business being brought in. And who brought them in? I brought them in. Why? Because they were my friends. So I'm bogus. It's my fault. It's from the very beginning. From the very beginning. And then involving them in something that I knew they weren't willing to take the same chances that I was willing to take. The sad part was that you didn't know what to expect. No, but I know now more than ever that we are only ever responsible for ourselves. We can only ever control what we do and how we react to any situation. And that's law. That's a law of man, regardless of any race, religion, politics, or anything like that. You can only be responsible for yourself. And so you place yourself in a position where people's actions can get you locked up. Their word can harm you, then that's your fault from the very get-go. And that's what being a man is. A man is realizing that ultimately the buck stops with you, right? There is nobody else. There is no safety. There is no safety net. There's no backstop. It's you against the world. I'm in my age. I think I take the name of Ghost Rider. This world isn't mine. That's funny. How you been, Tater? What you guys doing, or what you been up to this afternoon? You at work? But I found a lot of peace when I did choose to stop grinding the axe for these individuals. I stopped grinding the axe and I put it down, and I was immediately relieved, which is the only reason why a lot of you are drawn to the personality that you see, that you've seen today, because I don't carry those same, I don't carry those same machinations. I don't care about them people. I don't wish any ill will on them. It was my fault for thinking that they could do something like that. But the one that I had the most history with, his name was Little John, and he was a young guy. Looked up to me. He was Korean. He was super young. I didn't know how young he was because he was just as tall as I was, and he looked like a young man. You know, he told me he was 18. I was 18. He said he was 18. I didn't see any reason to call him a liar. So we originally started dealing weed together. Well, actually, he would come and pick up like an ounce from me, and it was just like clockwork. just like clockwork. He'd come pick up an ounce. He'd sit down, smoke a bowl with me. We'd jump up, we'd fucking slap hands, whatever, dap up, and he'd take off. Then, and he's a little import tuner head, right? So he had the all murdered out fucking Honda Civic, right? That thing was like 2 inches from the ground. That thing was loud. It sounded like, the catback exhaust. Wow. It was crazy, right? You got into that thing and it'd take off and it fucking peel you to the back of the seat. But he was a cool kid, right? He was a cool kid. And he started wanting to basically pick up more from me at a time. And I agreed to it. And I eventually got to the point where I was like, "You just want to go halves with me, dude? Just put up half of what I normally pay for what I go and get." And he agreed to that. Then he moved in. With me. Or he would just crash at the trailer, right? He would crash at the trailer. We'd sit up all night gaming, eating junk food. It was a nice life. It was a super nice life. We weren't throwing fucking bands or anything like that, but you can go out there and you can buy yourself a brand new snowboarding coat if you see something you like, and you can buy a couple of new CDs, and you can eat out every night and pay all your bills comfortably and not have to worry about your minutes and stuff. It was nice. It was an easy life. It was a peaceful life. And yeah, we ended up stumbling into somebody who would turn us against each other, because we were basically titans in the weed selling business. We'd gotten to that point where we were picking up pounds and we were getting rid of that shit all day, just all fucking day. We'd sit in the car and go from one drop point to the next, eighths and quarters. And we were just potheads who lived in a car. We even bought a new car, brand new fucking import. It's about your heart and it speaks the loudest like a war drum. I appreciate that, bro. Raymond, good to see you. Exactly, Raymond. It's not anyone else's responsibility, right? Ultimately. But yeah, we ended up running into somebody who I remember he was all drunk and shit. He came over, he had like some drunk bitch on his lap. And I came home, me and my boy Little John came in, and my roommate has this dude in my house, and he's all sitting there, got his feet up on the table, shoes on, just disrespectful, act like he owned the place, act like he had money, right? He act like he had pull or something like that. I didn't know who the dude was. And I came in and I was like, "Who the fuck's this dude?" I said, "Hey, get your shoes off the table." And he was all like, "Oh, my bad," he's all drunk and shit. He puts his feet down. He's got this chick on his lap, and he's like, I heard that you're the man around here when it comes to pushing weed." And I was like, "I mean, yeah." I said, "Were you looking?" And he's like, how fast can you get rid of what do you say? Like a pound or something like that, half a pound. I don't know. He said, "How long would it take you to get rid of a pound or something like that?" And I said, honestly, at the rate we go, I said, probably take me about a week. I'm thinking he's offering how fast before he gets his return. And that's not what he goes. He's like, "Pfft." He goes, "I'll make a phone call right now and get rid of a pound." He's like, "That's nothing." And I was like, "Well, who the fuck are you then? What the fuck you asking me for?" He's like, "Pfft." He's like, "Yeah, you come fuck with me when you want to make some real money." And I was like, "Oh, really?" He's like, "Yeah." You want to make some money right now? And I'm like this close, or I'm this close from teeing off on this motherfucker and kicking him out of the house because he just came in being disrespectful, talking shit, acting like I'm fucking chump change and shit. And I'm like, I despise being around drunks when I'm not drunk, right? Can't stand it. Cannot fucking stand this shit. And that's exactly what's going on. 420, good to see you. Welcome to the chat. I'm sorry to hear you had some crazy shit happen. I hope it's nothing too crazy. But yeah, the guy was like, he said, "You want to make some money right now?" And I'm like, "How? Let's hear it." Exactly, dude. The money is in it's in the small stuff. It's in moving the small stuff. But every time you personally handle one of these small transactions is a risk. It's a risk. It's a risk that it's a potentially a buy, or it's just an added up total tally of controlled buys, or just you just never know. So there's a lot of people that just want to do one and done, and take a smaller percentage off the top, or there's some that were like me that would take a whole ounce, break it out all the way down to every fucking gram, and get everything, 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 everything from it, like every fucking dollar. But dude offered me to go jump somebody that owed him money. And he said that he was supposed to have like $20,000 that he owed him. He said he had like a lot of dope and he would have some money on him, but he knew who he was, where he would be, what he drives, everything, right? He knew everything about this guy, but he was on pre-sentence investigation and he couldn't do it himself. So, as you can see, I have been agreeing to do work long before prison, long before max securities and USPs and all that stuff. Like, I've been agreeing to get people for reasons that weren't my own for a long time. And I said, "How much is he supposed to have on him?" And he goes, he's going to have an amount equal to or up to what he owes me in dope or money. He goes, "You can keep half of whatever you get from him, whatever you have on him." To speed that up, we go over there, we stake the place out just to find if he's there first off, right? Park Boy, good to see you, brother. Good to see you. Welcome to the live. So we are on the way out, and I noticed this lady following me, and she followed me to my car and stands right behind my car and wouldn't move. What the fuck? Oh yeah, I know. That's a charge right there. Blocking your right to travel. If she made you feel like you were not free to leave, that's, what do they call that? Is that it's a I forget what it's called. It's not kidnapping, but essentially it's just as bad as that. Pebbles. 420 gang stalking, yeah. But yeah, so we go there to stake the place out, and we see the whole fucking trailer. It's got shit all over every one of the windows except for one window where they had the Venetian blinds, right? The ones that they're layered like this. And we're sitting there watching it, and we can see every so once in a while you see this blind go down, and you could see somebody peek out like that. And then after a while, we'd see that, and there'd be another one that would open. So then we got two of them going down, and they're checking, they're watching their street. And we're in like an all murdered out, all black Honda Civic, parked in the fucking shadows of a tree, hidden from the light. Like, we're in complete darkness, and we're like, there's no way that they would know to be on the lookout for us or anything, right? There's no reason. They called the cops. They called the fucking cops on us. And the cop that showed up initially was cool with Little John because they used to ride crotch rockets together. So this was a young cop, right? A couple years removed from, fucking doing wheelies on Main Street with the rest of them, all that shit. And when he seen my driver, he knew he didn't have his license. And I didn't know that. I've been driving around all over with this motherfucker, drugs all in the car for fucking half a year now. And this motherfucker doesn't have a license. And he was like, "That's all right, man. Go ahead and call your grandma up and have her come and get you." And he looks over at me and he was like, "You got a license? Can you drive his car home?" And I was like, I don't have my license, and I didn't have my license. I got it when I was 18, but it was just so I could travel down to Colorado for a big drug deal. But I said, "No, I don't." And he's like, "All right, well, you guys are just gonna have to have somebody come back for the vehicle." And we were like, "What's up? You just get a call?" He's like, "Yeah, people said there was some suspicious activity out here. Said that you guys were, smoking drugs in the vehicle. We had joints on us, and we crumpled them up and threw them in the back seat. We had a bunch of fast food garbage back there and shit." And more cops showed up. And when more cops showed up, that young cop's fucking demeanor completely changed, right? He was like, "All right, both of you step out the vehicle, come stand over here, have a seat on the curb." And he starts putting his gloves on and stuff, right? And so the other cop comes up and he's got his hand on his fucking piece and he's watching us and he's like, "I'll start searching this side." And he was like, "No, that's fine." He's like, you keep an eye on them." He goes, "I know that one likes to run." He's like, I'll search the vehicle. And another cop shows up and he comes over and he comes with act like he's going to search the vehicle too. And he's like, "I got it. I'm just finishing up here." He goes, "It's nothing. They got nothing. That's just a driving under suspension. I'm gonna write him a ticket, kick him loose." And the dude was like, "All right." So he steps back, right? And we're all sitting there fucking on the fucking curb, cops, cop lights everywhere and stuff. And we're looking over at the fucking trailer who called it on us, and they're sitting there and they're watching, right? They're sitting there, fucking little tweaking asses are watching us out the blinds. And I knew right then and there, I'm getting this dude. I'm coming back on foot, all decked out, fucking black gear, face paint, everything. I'm coming back and I'm getting this dude. Fast forward, we come back. It's hours later, somewhere in the morning. We get our guy. I'm not gonna go into all that, but we get our guy, and he didn't have what he was supposed to have on him. Dude literally had like, I remember this very specifically. He had like 3 balls of glass on him. Okay. And then he had like $2,000. Was it that? Something like that, right? They were almost equal in value. I know that. And yeah, it was like 2,100, 2,200 in cash, something like that. So we take what he had on him, and we go back to my trailer, to the guy, and I show him. I'm already thinking this dude's gonna think I've already dipped into it, or I'm only showing him part of it, or whatever. I'm already preparing for the fact that I'm not bringing him what he suspected this guy would have. But we come into the house. I sit down with them. And I said, "Hey, I don't even know what I'm looking at, right? As far as the money and the dope, I think it was more than 3 balls. I think it was like 4 balls of glass, something like that." That's exactly what it was. That's why I thought it was equal in value, because the $2,000 would have bought the balls of glass, but the balls of glass were worth more. What he did was, we sat down and I said, "This is what I got." I showed him the money and I showed him the bags. And he sat down and he looked at him and he's sitting there still drunk, still drunker than a skunk. And he's like, he goes, "Which one do you want?" And I'm like, I was like, "I'll take the money." I don't know what I'm looking at as far as the little dope baggies with a little bit of white stuff in the bottoms and stuff. Like, I didn't know what the fuck I was looking at. I seen a big stack of cash. You know how much fucking weed I have to sell to get $2,000 at once? It's a couple of months. It's like a couple of months of fucking dealing eighths and quarters and saving up. Like I've said before, it's slow money, but it's for show money, right? Your pothead clients aren't going to come knocking on your bedroom window at 4 o'clock in the morning because they got $5. Like they'll hit you up regularly when their check hits. Pebbles, good to see you. Dave, 420 again. But I tell him, I said, I'll take the money. And he laughs. And he's like, he goes, he gets up, right? This is exactly where him and this girl get up to leave. He gets up and he was like, he said, keep it both. He said, keep them both. He goes, the money, he goes, I would have took the dope. He goes, the dope is worth more than the money. He goes, the money would have bought the dope, but the dope is going to be more than that. He goes, so keep them both. And he turns around and he walks out. Now, this is what got me into it. This is what got me into the meth dealing game right here. Not the fact that I finally had four balls of glass in my hand. It was the fact that this dude just casually turned his fucking back on $4,000 worth of value. You know, like I could probably do that with a couple $100, you know. You know, that like that's the equivalent. You know, that was the equivalent. You know, if I borrowed my friend a couple $100 and he said he didn't have it, and I'm like, you know what, it's cool, dude. I don't need it. You know, it ain't nothing. That's the level that this dude just did to me. But essentially with like four or five fucking racks worth of money. So he gets up and he leaves. And I'm like, I would never do something like that. Right? I couldn't. It's like, what level do you got to be on to just give that away? Like, you didn't want the money or the dope. Like, didn't he just send us after this? You know, like, wasn't this important enough to like what the fuck? I had to know more. I had to meet the dude. I had to know how deep does this fucking rabbit hole go? And he showed me. And it was a wrap. It was a wrap for me after that. Boy, you guys have been going off in the comments here. I gotta try to find where I last where I last remember seeing. My goodness, thank you for the donation. Okay, here we go. So I tell her to move like 5 times. My uncle just said, go forward. So I did, and we came home. When someone would say, oh, do you know, or are you like, nope, don't even know what you're talking about. Yeah. Yeah. Disappeared in your apartment for 4 days. Yeah, Dave, you have a good weekend too, brother. Everybody have a good weekend. Everybody in the chat have a good weekend. I didn't even realize it was Friday until I started the stream. Trying to get my uncle in his wheelchair in the house, and the cops come rolling up deep on me. Damn. Right? A healthy suspicion. Threw me down on the ground, then yanked me up and slammed me against the car. What the fuck for? So I told them what happened, and I showed them the car, and it's obvious that I didn't hit anyone. The other cops are on the phone. A little while later, they come back and they say the lady decided to let it go. I'm like, I'm let it go. I didn't do anything, right? What the fuck is wrong with people? Yeah, for real. That's crazy. Yeah, weirdos. Snow, good to see you. God damn it. It's fucking crazy. Meanwhile, my bipolar ass is trying real hard to maintain mood stability while triggered in a major way. Yeah, it can't be easy. I've been looking for meaning and gaining full-time employment. It's tough, but I'm finding my niche. I work with kids in a prison. Didn't like the way the kids are being treated. That's a real deal, yeah. Major respect there. Tried them one time. Tried them one time. They didn't work. Never done it again. Some people don't. Some people do shrooms and they don't have any reaction the first time. That's a real thing. That is a real thing. I don't know why, but it didn't work. Never did get sick though, so thank God for that. I saw that my lady that poisoned her whole family with death caps. That's crazy. Definitely shrooms. It just didn't do nothing to you. Sometimes they all like they could be the real deal, right? They could look like the real shrooms and all that, but they have to be picked at night. And if they're not picked at night, then the 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 poison in it or the chemical or the active ingredient, whatever it is, it's not present in the caps or the stems and stuff. I'm not really sure if that's not just like more myth from fucking our childhood or what. Thank you for gifting Waxamillion a membership, Snow. Yep, Snow is our MVP. Yep, no problem, Shadows. You tried shrooms, but I think they were weak as fuck. I want real ones. I want them to do them around Joshua Tree. Yeah. Jessica, good to see you. It's always a pleasure to see you popping in. Oh, peyote buttons. Yeah, I don't know, man. I know I figured out the meaning of life when I did a quarter of shrooms my first time. And it was like really I'm glad my friends took my car keys away because I was trying to like leave and go smoke a fucking wall at 100 miles an hour or something. I was convinced that this was just one other level. And it's crazy. But people come through this plane as many times as it'll take before they advance and grow enough to be able to go on to what's next. Different form of life, maybe, different world, different earth, different universe, different timeline, who knows? But it's crazy. It is crazy. Trips are something else. My fiance and I ate some shrooms one time and they were doing road work on our street and they had cones and signals all up and down the street. So we decided to rearrange them and put them on people's porch and lawn on top of cars and laughed our asses off. Yeah, Pebbles. I mean, if they were real, you would have felt them. Sometimes they take a long time to kick in. Sometimes shrooms do take a long time to kick in. We're talking like 30, 45 minutes. I mean, you have to, absorb them like a meal. And I heard orange juice and vitamin C is supposed to like speed up some of that process, help it mainline into your system. Nobody try this at home, kids. This type of information is not meant to reenact or try on yourself for yourself. Probably why I used the method I did. Got some acid one time, took a hit, thought it wasn't working, and bunk. We love to do shrooms together. We have a really good time. I ate the whole 6 hits, thinking, well, if there's a little bit at least in every one, I feel something. Oh God, Pebbles. Oh man, my brain was on vacation for 2 days. I bet. Yeah, I bet. I waited hours for educational purposes only. Yeah, shrooms are something else. I did them one time. I had one very distinct realization while I was on them that I never forgot. And I remember thinking, these are not meant for fun. I was like, this is a key. This is a key to like deeper understanding, or like a deeper look into like the universe, meaning. I don't know. But I realized that they weren't something that I would ever do recreationally again. From vacuuming? Hell no. Yeah, I appreciate everybody, man. Everybody coming through. It's a bit of a late start. We did a whole reaction to a video. Did a whole reaction to a video from this guy who does a video on North Dakota and South Dakota prisons. I think I was getting texts. Yeah, I was getting texts. Son of a bitch. I might as well sign off here. Oh shit. I can't believe I loaded up a goddamn Destiny 2 clip. I wasn't supposed to do that on YouTube. Can you see that? I'm sure you guys probably know. You probably got the fucking notification for it. But I was loading it up to what I thought was the PS app. I was going through some old ass footage on my PS5, and I seen some shit that I was like, you know what, fuck it, because I gotta get rid of the space and clean up my memory and all that. Tried everything else, Tater. Yeah. Next time, David. Thank you for hanging out the entire stream, bro. It was pretty much me and you. We were just kicking it all day, huh? North Dakota was the most requested transfer. Yeah, I saw the video. I hit the like button. Anyways, thank you. Thank you, Tater Todd. Yeah, that's because it's soft, isn't it? It's most requested transfer because it's fucking soft, huh? They got like the most things to have, right? They got hot pots, Walkmans, boom boxes, game cubes, TVs, hot pots. Did I already say hot pots? Fans, personal fans, book reading lights. I mean, everything. The CL20s, and I think they even. I was just about to say a microwave. They don't have microwaves, but they got all types of stuff. Tater. I'm not getting notifications anymore. I'm going to unsubscribe and resubscribe. Absolutely, Snow. I figured that. Thank you, Pebbles. Absolutely. Thank you for that. Yep. That's why my girl's telling me not to forget to go get my kid. I was like, no, I'm signing off right now. Or trying to. Go get the kiddo. Today, you guys almost met somebody. You almost met one of my friends from before prison. I haven't been in contact with them a lot, but you don't have to. You don't have to. You could disappear on these kind of friends for years and show up and just start kicking it like you guys were still teenagers, right? He's one of them. He's been there and saw it all with me. He would have a very interesting take. He's never been to prison. Worked all his life. He's got a kid. Takes care of his parents, which is really crazy to me. Not that he would take care of his parents, but just that, yeah, that like he would become so fucking irresponsible. He probably thinks the same thing about me, right? He's the one. Yeah, yeah. I'm gonna go get the kiddo. I got till 5. It just now turned 4 o'clock, but we are in the process of signing out. 2 hours is definitely as long as any live needs to be. Yeah, but snowplow, if the notification thing, and that's for anybody, if the notification thing, not getting notifications is continue to be a problem, it's probably YouTube. YouTube gets funny. Except there was only one, so it was an instant. Don't even ask, no matter how much money you got. Is that for me? Oh, okay. But yeah, we are out. Y'all have a good weekend. I'll be on maybe later. If not later. Oh, okay. Yeah, I see you, Tater Tot. But yeah, no, if I'm not on later, definitely tomorrow. I'm gonna look up some other videos. We're definitely gonna watch the video that where he talks about Warrior Society and Native Nation, which are the two affiliations that I was in my younger days. I was 27 when I had my first kid, long time single and gay, and I would carry that infant carry out to the car and get my baby all in there good. That's why I was late. I didn't get a notification. Oh yeah, don't worry about a snowplow. We were just practicing. More practice today. I mean, literally, that's all this shit is. It's just consistency. You know, a lot of people were telling me to do this shit daily, 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 daily. You gotta upload daily. You gotta do lives. You gotta talk with your community. And I was just like really hard headed, like with anything I've done in this fucking life. I'm gonna do it my way first, and when I see that my way isn't working, then I will, begrudgingly, I will begrudgingly accept that you guys are probably right. So here I am on a daily basis. After about 3 times of that, I got it. Oh no. No, I'm pretty sure Pebbles, the seats back in the days were probably not as like they're super advanced now, right? They're super advanced. I got a Graco turn to me. Is it a Graco? It's a turn to me. I know that. I don't know how many things are. I don't know how many things. I don't know what the fuck I was about to say, but yeah, I don't know how many different things are called turn to me, but that's what it's called. It's stationary. We don't carry it out or take it anywhere else. It stays in the back of the back of the car, but it's able to turn, and it's really nice. But back in the day, I imagine they weren't too much. There wasn't too much to them, and if you didn't secure it right, it would just rock back and forth and shit. What the fuck, you dumb lady? Talking to myself. Long form videos pay good. Yeah, I gotta get some long stories going too. I like your way best. That's why I'm here. I appreciate it, Snow. I mean, you are definitely have pulled forward in the amount of single-handedly contribution that you have made. I mean that was something more than I could ever hope for, or something that I would never ask that of anybody. You know, I would never ask that of anybody to just beyond one time or something. I understand there's people out there that like to do that, but you got like my memberships is fucking the list is long now, and that's mainly because of you, and that's a really awesome thing. Gives me a lot of hope. Gives me a lot of hope, and for that I'm very grateful. Very grateful for the community that I have been given, and that's rocking with me. And with that, I'm out. See y'all on the next one.